Standing at the base of the Great Pyramid of Giza, you can't help but feel the weight of history pressing down on you. Its towering limestone blocks, perfectly aligned to the cardinal directions, seem to defy the limits of ancient engineering. But what if these stones are more than just a tomb or a monument? What if they're part of a vast, interconnected language, a code left behind by civilizations long gone? Across the world, from the wind-swept plains of Stonehenge to the intricate carvings of Ankerwat, ancient builders embedded symbols, alignments, and hidden patterns into their greatest creations. These aren't just random decorations, they're deliberate messages waiting to be deciphered. Think about the last time you looked at a constellation and traced its shape in the sky. Now imagine an entire civilization doing the same, but instead of just naming stars, they etched those celestial maps into the very foundations of their temples. The ancients didn't just build, they encoded. They wove knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and even prophecies into the stones beneath our feet. Some researchers believe these symbols might hold warnings for future generations, or perhaps blueprints for technologies we've yet to rediscover. The deeper you look, the more it becomes clear these monuments weren't just meant to impress, they were meant to communicate. So why haven't we cracked their secrets yet? The truth is, we've only scratched the surface. For centuries, historians and archaeologists have pieced together fragments of this puzzle, but the full picture remains tantalizingly out of reach. That's where this journey begins. Together, we'll uncover the hidden codes buried in the world's most iconic structures, revealing connections that span continents and millennia. By the end, you'll never look at these ancient wonders the same way again, because once you see the symbols, once you understand the patterns, history itself starts to rewrite before your eyes. The stones are speaking, it's time we listened. Ancient civilizations understood something profound about human memory. Words fade, but symbols endure. When the Egyptians carved hieroglyphs into temple walls or the Mayans aligned their pyramids with the stars, they weren't just leaving behind art. They were building a library in stone, a failsafe against the erosion of time. Picture this, a pharaoh's scribe etching celestial patterns into a tomb ceiling, knowing that thousands of years later, someone would gaze up and recognize the same constellations. These symbols weren't hidden because their creators feared theft. They were hidden because their meaning was too valuable to lose. Take the mysterious carvings at Göbekli Tepe, a site so ancient it predates Stonehenge by thousands of years. The intricate animal reliefs covering its pillars don't just depict wildlife, they map the night sky, marking the positions of stars as they appeared 12,000 years ago. This wasn't random artistry, it was a deliberate act of preservation, a way to say, look here, remember this. Across the globe, from the serpentine canals of Nazca to the sacred geometry of Chartres Cathedral, the same principle emerges. Symbols transcend language. They speak directly to the subconscious, bypassing the need for translation. So why encode knowledge instead of writing it plainly? Imagine you're guarding the secret of a plant that cures disease or a star cycle that predicts catastrophe. Would you trust parchment that crumbles or oral tales that twist over generations? Or would you carve it into something immortal? The ancients chose stone because they were playing the long game. Their symbols weren't meant for everyone, just for those who knew where to look. And that's the real genius of their design. These weren't mere messages. They were tests. To read them, you had to earn the right by understanding the deeper patterns, the hidden keys woven into the very fabric of their world. Some scholars argue these symbols served as a backup drive for human civilization, a way to reboot knowledge after disaster struck. Others believe they were spiritual roadmaps, guiding initiates toward higher understanding. But one thing is certain: when we stand before these monuments today, we're not just observers, we're participants in an unbroken chain of curiosity. The stones whisper not with words, but with the silent language of geometry, alignment, and intention. And as we learn to listen, we begin to hear the echoes of minds that thought not in years, but in millennia. The Great Pyramid of Giza doesn't just dominate the desert skyline. It defies everything we think we know about ancient engineering. Every measurement, every angle, every corridor seems to whisper secrets of a lost science. Take its base perimeter divided by twice its height. The result is pi, accurate to 4 decimal places. That's not coincidence, it's precision carved into stone. And then there's the golden ratio, the same mathematical harmony found in nature's spirals and Renaissance art, hidden in the pyramid's proportions. Was this an architectural accident, or proof that the builders possessed knowledge we've only rediscovered in modern times? But the mysteries don't stop at mathematics. The pyramid's shafts, once dismissed as ventilation channels, align with uncanny precision to key stars in the night sky. The southern shaft points directly to Sirius, the brightest star visible from Earth, while the northern one targets the constellation Ursa Minor. These alignments weren't just decorative, they marked celestial events with staggering accuracy, turning the pyramid into a stone observatory. Some researchers believe these alignments served as a calendar, predicting floods and solstices critical to survival in the ancient world. Others go further, suggesting the pyramid was a cosmic beacon, designed to communicate with something or someone beyond our planet. Then there are the hidden chambers. Despite centuries of exploration, the pyramid still guards its deepest secrets. Thermal scans reveal unexplained voids behind its walls, spaces that could hold anything from forgotten burial chambers to encoded messages in stone. The most tantalizing theory, that these chambers contain symbolic artifacts or inscriptions meant only for initiates, a final test for those who have decoded the pyramid's outer layers. Imagine stumbling upon a room untouched for millennia, its walls covered in symbols that rewrite history. What's truly humbling is realizing this wasn't built in isolation. From the pyramids of Mesoamerica to the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, ancient cultures replicated these same mathematical and astronomical principles without any known contact. It's as if they were all working from the same lost blueprint, a universal knowledge passed down through symbols we're only beginning to recognize. The Great Pyramid isn't just a tomb or a monument. It's the ultimate riddle left by minds who thought in scales of time we can barely comprehend. And the deeper we dig, the clearer it becomes. We're not just studying history. We're deciphering a warning or an invitation from the past. Stonehenge stands silent on the English plains, its massive stones arranged with a precision that still baffles modern researchers. At first glance, it might seem like a simple circle of rocks, but look closer. Those stones align perfectly with the summer and winter solstices, marking the longest and shortest days of the year with eerie accuracy. The heel stone, positioned just outside the main circle, catches the first light of the midsummer sunrise, casting a beam that slices through the heart of the monument. This isn't random placement, it's an ancient timekeeping system, a celestial clock carved into the earth, but the mysteries don't end with solar alignments. Recent laser scans have uncovered hidden carvings on the stone's etched axes, daggers, and even strange geometric patterns. At first, archaeologists dismissed them as ceremonial symbols, but what if there's something more? Some researchers suggest these markings could represent constellations, mapping the night sky as it appeared thousands of years ago. Others believe they might encode warnings, symbolic references to cosmic events like comets or eclipses. events that ancient cultures saw as omens. Then there's the layout itself. The arrangement of the blue stones, transported over hundreds of miles, mirrors patterns found in other ancient sites across Europe. This isn't just local folklore, it's part of a shared language of symbols, a code stretching across continents. Could Stonehenge have been a meeting point for initiates, a place where knowledge was passed down through carefully designed alignments and carvings? The way certain stones frame specific stars or lunar phases suggests a deeper purpose, one that goes beyond mere ritual. What's most compelling is the theory that Stonehenge wasn't just a calendar or observatory, but a kind of prehistoric computer. The Aubrey holes, a ring of pits surrounding the monument, may have been used to track lunar cycles over decades, predicting eclipses with startling precision. Imagine standing in the center as the moon's shadow crept across the stones, knowing exactly when darkness would fall, not through written records, but through a system of memory encoded in the landscape. The truth is, we may never fully unravel Stonehenge's secrets, but each discovery peels back another layer, revealing a sophistication we rarely attribute to ancient builders. Whether it was a temple, an astronomical tool, or a message to the future, one thing is clear: the people who raised these stones understood the cosmos in ways we're only beginning to grasp. And as we decode their symbols, we're not just studying history, we're relearning a forgotten language of the stars. Stretching across the arid plains of southern Peru, the Nazca lines form one of the most baffling open-air galleries on Earth. From the ground, they look like little more than shallow grooves etched into the desert floor, but from above, they transform into colossal figures humming with hidden meaning. A spider with one leg extended precisely toward the winter solstice sunrise, a monkey whose curled tail mirrors the spiral of a distant galaxy, even a humanoid figure with wide, staring eyes nicknamed the astronaut, as if reaching toward the heavens. These aren't random scribbles in the sand. They're a meticulously planned language of symbols, some stretching longer than 3 football fields, designed to be seen from heights the Nazca people could never have reached on their own. So why create art that's invisible from the ground? One theory suggests these lines were sacred pathways, walked during rituals to commune with deities who viewed them from above. Another points to their uncanny alignment with underground water sources, turning the desert into a living map of hidden aquifers, a survival blueprint for a civilization in one of the driest places on Earth. But the most tantalizing idea, that the Nazca lines were meant for us, not the people of 1500 years ago, but future generations armed with the technology to see them from the sky. Imagine carving a message into the planet itself, knowing it would endure for millennia, waiting for the right eyes to decode it. The precision behind these geoglyphs defies simple explanation. Using nothing but rudimentary tools, the Nazca people plotted designs so vast and geometrically perfect that modern engineers struggle to replicate their accuracy without aerial guidance. Some lines run arrow straight for miles, deviating less than a meter over their entire length. Others form intricate spirals and trapezoids that align with celestial events, like the Pleiades star clusters rising or the setting sun during the June solstice. This wasn't doodling, it was astronomy etched into the earth, a permanent record of cosmic knowledge. Then there's the eerie overlap with other ancient sites. The Nazca spider mirrors a constellation worshipped by the Maya, while their hummingbird glyph bears a striking resemblance to a celestial map found in Mesopotamian artifacts. Could these cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, have been tapping into the same symbolic language? Some researchers believe the lines functioned as a kind of global positioning system for the ancients, marking ley lines or energy grids we've yet to fully understand. Others argue they're remnants of a lost communication network, symbols meant to guide or warn those who came after. The most haunting question isn't how the Nazca created these lines, but why they went to such lengths to make them endure. Unlike pyramids or temples, these drawings served no obvious practical purpose. They weren't shelters or tombs. They were ephemeral by design, meant to survive not through stone, but through the very landscape they were drawn upon. Perhaps that's the real message here. Some knowledge is too important to carve in stone. It must be written in the earth itself, whispered across time in a language of shadows and light, waiting for the day we finally learn to read it. Rising from the jungles of Cambodia like a stone echo of the heavens, Ankerwat spires pierce the sky in perfect alignment with the cosmos. At first glance, it's a breathtaking monument to Hindu mythology, its 5 central towers symbolizing Mount Meru, the axis of the universe, and its vast moats mirroring the celestial oceans of ancient belief. But step closer, and the temple reveals something far more profound. The bas-reliefs winding along its walls aren't just religious art. They're a star chart carved in sandstone, a celestial code left by architects who saw the sky not as a void but as a living map. Take the churning of the Ocean of Milk, one of Angkor's most famous reliefs. At face value, it depicts gods and demons wrestling a giant serpent to extract the elixir of immortality. Yet hidden in the chaos are precise arrangements of figures that mirror the Draco constellation, the same celestial serpent worshipped by cultures from Mesopotamia to Mesoamerica. The temple's western gate, often dismissed as a ceremonial entrance, aligns perfectly with Draco's brightest star, Thuban, which served as the North Star when Angkor was built. This isn't coincidence, it's deliberate, a way to anchor the temple not just to earth but to the turning heavens themselves. Then there's the temple's layout. During the spring equinox, sunlight pours through Ankerwat's eastern gateway, illuminating a hidden carving of Vishnu that lies in shadow the rest of the year. The same phenomenon occurs with the setting sun on the autumn equinox, as if the entire complex were designed to mark the celestial balance between light and dark. Even more striking, the temple's dimensions form a near-perfect rectangle with proportions matching the Hindu concept of the Yuga cycles, epochs of time spanning thousands of years. It's as if the builders encoded their understanding of cosmic time into the very stones, creating a clock that ticks not in hours but in ages. But the real mystery lies beneath the surface. Lidar scans have revealed an astonishing truth. Ankerwat sits at the heart of a vast, grid-like cityscape mimicking the pattern of the stars in Orion's belt. This urban plan, invisible to the naked eye from the ground, suggests the Khmer Empire didn't just build a temple. They built a mirror of the night sky on Earth, a sacred reflection of the universe meant to harmonize human life with celestial order. The question isn't whether Ankerwat holds astronomical secrets. It's whether we've even begun to understand the full scope of what its creators intended to say. Perhaps the most haunting clue lies in the temple's alignment with precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that shifts the stars over millennia. Angkor's central tower points to a spot in the sky where Draco's tail once marked true north, a position it held over 5,000 years ago. This means the temple's celestial references don't just match the sky of the 12th century, but echo knowledge passed down from vastly older sources. Were the Khmer builders inheritors of a lost astronomy, preserving star lore from civilizations long forgotten? The answer may lie in the silent language of Angkor's stones, a code that doesn't just point to the stars but invites us to follow. Standing on the windswept slopes of Easter Island, you're met with an eerie silence broken only by the sight of hundreds of massive stone faces staring back at you. The Moai, some towering over 30 feet tall, seem to guard secrets as old as the island itself. For centuries, their purpose was a mystery, their blank eyes giving nothing away. But recent discoveries have cracked open a new chapter in their story. Hidden on the backs of these statues, buried under layers of volcanic rock and time, are intricate petroglyphs carvings that might hold the key to understanding not just the Moai, but the rise and fall of the civilization that built them. Look closer at these symbols and patterns emerge, spirals that mirror celestial maps, fishhooks that align with underground water channels, even figures that resemble constellations only visible during specific seasons. This isn't random artistry, it's a language. Some researchers argue the Moai were placed along ley lines, points where Earth's energy was believed to converge, turning the entire island into a kind of spiritual power grid. Others point to their precise positioning, with certain statues marking the solstice sunrises or the arrival of migratory birds crucial to survival. The deeper you dig, the clearer it becomes. These weren't just monuments. They were landmarks in a vast, invisible network of knowledge. Then there's the mystery of their construction. How did a society with no wheels or metal tools move these multi-ton giants across miles of rugged terrain? Oral traditions speak of the statues walking into place, guided by divine will. Modern experiments suggest the islanders may have used a rocking technique, inching the Moai forward with ropes, a feat requiring not just brute strength, but an intimate understanding of physics and balance. But here's the real question: why go to such lengths? Why risk everything to erect these silent sentinels? The answer might lie in the island's tragic collapse. As resources dwindled and tribes clashed, the Moai became more than symbols, they were warnings. Some petroglyphs depict famine, warfare, even celestial events like comets. Were the islanders trying to preserve their history, or were they signaling to future generations about the dangers of environmental neglect? The statue's inward gaze takes on new meaning when you realize they weren't watching the ocean. They were watching over the people, as if pleading with them to remember. What's most haunting isn't the mystery of how the Moai were built, but why they were abandoned. Half-carved statues lie unfinished in quarries, tools dropped mid-stroke, as if the islanders simply walked away. Or were they forced to? The petroglyphs hint at a civilization that saw its end coming and chose to etch its final lessons in stone. Today, as we piece together their symbols, we're not just uncovering lost art. We're reading a message from the past, one that whispers across the centuries. See what we saw. Learn what we learned. The Moai's silence isn't emptiness. It's a language waiting to be heard. Perched high in the Andes, Machu Picchu stones cling to the mountainside like a puzzle frozen mid-assembly. The precision is staggering, granite blocks weighing tons, cut so perfectly that not even a razor blade can slip between them. Modern engineers still debate how the Inca achieved this without iron tools or mortar, but the real mystery isn't just how they built it. It's why, scattered across the site, hidden in the folds of its terraces and temples, are carvings that whisper of a deeper purpose, serpents winding down staircases, condors with wings outstretched as if mid-flight, spirals etched into bedrock mirroring the Milky Way's curve across the night sky. These aren't decorations. They're breadcrumbs left by a civilization that saw the world in layers, where every stone held meaning beyond its physical form. Take the Temple of the Condor, where a natural rock formation transforms into a bird's outstretched wings with just a few strategic carvings. Below it, a dark chamber snakes into the earth, echoing Inca beliefs about the condor as a messenger between worlds. Nearby, the Intihuatana stone, a ritual pillar often called the hitching post of the sun, casts no shadow at noon during the equinoxes, a feat of astronomical alignment that turns the entire plaza into a sundial. But here's what most visitors miss. The stone's angles also correspond to sacred mountains on the horizon, tying the heavens to the earth in a single, unbroken symbol. Then there's the layout itself. Seen from above, Machu Picchu's districts mirror the constellations the Inca revered, with plazas and pathways tracing celestial patterns. The Urubamba River below coils like a stone serpent, mirroring the carved snakes within the city's walls. Some researchers believe this was intentional, a way to encode the landscape into a living map of spiritual and practical knowledge. The terraces, for instance, aren't just agricultural marvels. Their staggered levels create microclimates, each step a different ecosystem, as if the Inca were preserving biodiversity within the very bones of their city. But the most tantalizing clues lie in the stones no tourist sees. Beneath the main plaza, hidden drainage channels follow precise geometric patterns, aligning with solstice sunrises and lunar cycles. Were these just practical innovations or part of a larger symbolic system? The Inca had no written language as we know it, but their architecture speaks volumes. The way certain walls angle slightly to channel wind into harmonic frequencies, the way shadow lines at dawn during the winter solstice slice through doorways to illuminate specific carvings. This isn't just engineering, it's poetry in stone. Perhaps the greatest lesson of Machu Picchu isn't in its grandeur, but in its silence. The Inca left no manuals, no blueprints, just these cryptic symbols etched into the land itself. They built a city that wasn't just a home, but a teacher, its very stones whispering lessons about astronomy, ecology, and the sacred balance of life. To walk its paths today isn't just to explore ruins. It's to step into a conversation across centuries, where every carving, every alignment, is a word in a language we're still learning to read. The great Sphinx of Giza crouches in the desert sand like a sentinel frozen mid-breath, its lion's body and human face carved from a single block of limestone. Most guides will tell you it's a 4,500-year-old guardian of the pyramids, but what if that's just the surface of the story? Look closely at its weathered flanks, and you'll notice something unsettling. The erosion patterns don't match wind or sand. They resemble the deep vertical grooves left by millennia of heavy rainfall, the kind Egypt hasn't seen since the end of the last ice age, over 12,000 years ago. This raises a startling question. Was the Sphinx already ancient when the pharaohs claimed it? Then there's what lies beneath. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers under the Sphinx's pores, some large enough to hold entire rooms. One shaft descends nearly 50 feet before terminating in what appears to be a sealed doorway. What's behind it? Theories range from hidden libraries of Atlantean knowledge to star maps etched on stone tablets. But here's what's undeniable. The Sphinx isn't just sitting on rock, it's sitting on secrets. Now, tilt your head back and consider the face. Unlike the pyramid's precise geometry, the Sphinx's features are oddly asymmetrical, its left eye narrower than the right, its mouth slightly off-center. Some researchers believe this wasn't a mistake, but a deliberate clue. During the age of Leo, around 10,500 BCE, the constellation Leo would have risen directly east at dawn, its stars mirroring the Sphinx's proportions. Could this monument be a cosmic timestamp, marking an epoch when the sky and earth aligned in perfect harmony? The most compelling evidence might be in what's missing. The Sphinx's nose, famously absent, wasn't shot off by Napoleon's soldiers as legend claims. Medieval accounts describe it already gone centuries earlier. But look at the space where it should be, and you'll find drill holes suggesting something was once fastened there. Perhaps a ceremonial beard or metal ornament that caught the sunlight at precise moments, turning the Sphinx into a giant sundial or signaling device. What if we've been asking the wrong question all along? Instead of wondering who built the Sphinx, we should be asking what it was built to do. Every feature from the water-worn grooves to the celestial alignments points to a monument designed not just to impress but to instruct. It's as if the ancients left us a riddle in stone, knowing we'd only understand it once we'd advanced enough to ask the right questions. The Sphinx doesn't guard the pyramids. It guards time itself, and as we peel back its layers, we're not just uncovering history, we're decoding a warning or an invitation from a civilization that saw further than we ever imagined. Buried beneath the rolling hills of southeastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe shatters everything we thought we knew about human history. This sprawling complex of massive stone pillars, arranged in concentric circles, wasn't built by farmers or city dwellers. It was crafted by hunter-gatherers over 12,000 years ago, a staggering 7 millennia before Stonehenge or the first pyramids. The pillars themselves are a canvas of mysteries, each one carved with elaborate reliefs of scorpions, foxes, and vultures frozen in intricate detail. But these aren't just decorative animals. Look closer and you'll notice something unsettling. Their positions mirror the constellations as they appeared in the night sky 11,500 BCE. The vulture aligns with the stars of Sagittarius, the fox with Virgo, as if the builders were etching a celestial map into stone, preserving knowledge of the heavens for generations yet unborn. What's even more astonishing is the precision behind these carvings. The T-shaped pillars, some weighing over 16 tons, were quarried and transported without wheels or domesticated animals, a feat that defies conventional timelines of human ingenuity. But the real enigma lies in their arrangement. The central pillars in each circle form perfect equilateral triangles, their orientations matching the solstice sunrises of their era. This wasn't haphazard construction. It was geometry harnessed to track time itself, turning the entire site into a stone calendar marking the slow dance of Earth's axis. Some researchers believe Göbekli Tepe wasn't just a temple, it was an observatory, a place where shamans or astronomers recorded celestial events with terrifying accuracy. Then there's the haunting question of purpose. Unlike later religious sites, Göbekli Tepe shows no evidence of permanent settlement. No homes, no granaries, just these towering pillars rising from the bare earth. This suggests it was a pilgrimage site, a place where scattered tribes gathered for rituals we can only guess at. The carvings offer cryptic clues, serpents coiled around pillars, headless humans, and a recurring motif of a circle bisected by a line, a symbol later found in Mesopotamian star charts. Were these warnings, instructions, or perhaps a mythic narrative telling of a time when the sky itself shifted? The most compelling theory comes from the layers themselves. Göbekli Tepe wasn't abandoned, it was deliberately buried, its pillars carefully interred under thousands of tons of soil around 8000 BCE. This wasn't erosion or neglect. It was an act of preservation, as if the builders knew their knowledge was too fragile to leave exposed. What were they hiding? Some speculate it was a response to a cataclysm, a comet impact or rapid climate change hinted at in the carvings. Others argue the site's burial was part of its function, a way to reset sacred space for new cycles of time. One thing is certain, Göbekli Tepe forces us to rewrite history. Its existence proves that complex societies capable of advanced astronomy, engineering, and symbolic thought existed long before agriculture or cities. The carvings aren't just art, they're a manifesto, a declaration that 12,000 years ago, humans were asking the same questions we do today. Where do we come from? What's written in the stars, and how do we leave a message that will outlast us? The pillars stand silent, but if you listen closely, you can almost hear them whispering across the millennia. Remember, we were here. The Voynich manuscript sits in a Yale University vault like a ghost of forgotten knowledge. 240 pages of vellum filled with looping, alien script and illustrations that defy explanation. Unlike the pyramids or Stonehenge, its mystery isn't carved in stone but inked in faded pigments, its symbols swirling across the page like a language dreamed by someone who'd never seen letters before. Plants that don't exist, naked women bathing in green liquid, zodiac wheels with unfamiliar constellations. For centuries, scholars and codebreakers have obsessed over its pages, yet not a single word has been conclusively deciphered. But here's what's fascinating. The manuscript's strangest illustrations echo symbols found in ancient monuments halfway across the world, as if its creator was tapping into the same hidden lexicon of the past. Take the so-called biological section, where tubular structures branch like roots or veins, mirroring the serpentine carvings at Göbekli Tepe and the underground channels beneath the Sphinx. The manuscript's celestial diagrams, with their concentric circles and radiating lines, bear an uncanny resemblance to the solstice markers at Ankerwat and the Nazca spider's geometric legs. Even the repetitive, looping script recalls the knot writing of the Inca, a system of record-keeping lost to time. Could these parallels be coincidence or evidence of a shared symbolic language spanning continents and epochs? Carbon dating places the manuscript's creation between 1400 and 1430, but its content feels older, as if it's a medieval copy of something far more ancient. Some researchers believe it's a coded herbal, its bizarre plants representing lost medicinal knowledge. Others argue it's an astronomical manual, its star charts mapping skies from a time before recorded history. But the most compelling theory, that it's neither, that the Voynich manuscript is a relic of initiation rites, its symbols designed to be understood only by those trained in a secret tradition. Like the hidden chambers of the Great Pyramid or the buried pillars of Gerbeklly Tepe, its meaning wasn't meant for everyone. What makes the manuscript truly unique is its fragility. Stone monuments endure, but parchment survives only by chance. Had a single fire or flood consumed it, we'd have no record of its existence at all. That vulnerability raises a haunting possibility. How many other Voyniches have vanished, taking their secrets with them? The manuscript might be the lone survivor of an entire library of encoded knowledge, a whisper of what once was. Yet for all its obscurity, one thing is clear: the Voynich manuscript isn't just a puzzle. It's a mirror. The harder we stare at its pages, the more we see our own reflection. A species endlessly compelled to encode, to hide, to reach across time. Whether it's a hoax or a genuine artifact, its power lies in the questions it forces us to ask. What do we truly understand about the past, and how much have we forgotten? The answers, like the manuscript symbols, remain just out of reach. Power wasn't just wielded through armies or gold in the ancient world, it was etched in stone. When a pharaoh ordered hieroglyphs carved into a temple wall, or an Inca ruler aligned his palace with the solstice sun, they weren't just decorating. They were embedding their authority into the very fabric of reality, creating a language only the chosen could read. Take the Rosetta Stone, that famous slab of black basalt. To us, it's a linguistic key, but to the Ptolemaic kings who commissioned it, it was a tool of control. By decreeing that the same message be written in Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphs, they weren't just bridging cultures. They were gatekeeping. Greek was the language of bureaucracy, Demotic of the people, and hieroglyphs, well, those were reserved for the gods and the elites who claimed to speak for them. This wasn't unique to Egypt. In imperial China, the Forbidden City's layout mirrored the celestial order, with the emperor's throne positioned at the North Star's earthly counterpart, a silent declaration that his rule was cosmically ordained. The Maya painted their sacred books with glyphs so complex that only a handful of priests could interpret them, turning knowledge into a weapon. Even the Roman fasces, those bundled rods carried by magistrates, hid a brutal message: unity creates strength, and defiance earns the axe hidden within. These symbols weren't just art, they were psychological architecture designed to make power feel inevitable. But the most insidious codes were the ones that disguised themselves as gifts. When Byzantine emperors distributed coins stamped with their likeness, they weren't just funding trade, they were imprinting their image on every transaction, making their face as familiar as the sunrise. The Aztecs built their Templo Maya as a symbolic replica of Coatepec, the serpent mountain of myth, so that every sacrifice atop its steps reinforced the state's divine mandate. And in medieval Europe, cathedral labyrinths weren't just pretty floors, they were physical metaphors for the winding path to salvation, subtly reminding pilgrims that the church held the map. What's chilling is how these strategies echo today. Modern leaders might not carve their edicts into obelisks, but think of national flags, currency designs, or even corporate logos' visual shorthand that bypasses reason to speak directly to our subconscious. The ancients understood something we often forget. The most durable empires aren't built on borders alone. They're built on symbols that outlast their creators, whispering their messages long after the stone has worn smooth. The real question isn't just how these codes worked, but why we're still so willing to follow them. Standing at the foot of the Great Pyramid of Giza on a clear night, if you tilt your head back and trace the 3 stars of Orion's belt, something extraordinary happens. The layout of the pyramids beneath you, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, matches those celestial points with uncanny precision. This isn't a vague resemblance. The smallest pyramid is offset slightly, just like the dimmest star in Orion's trio. The Nile River mirrors the Milky Way's shimmering band, as if the entire Giza Plateau were designed as a scaled-down reflection of the cosmos. But why would a civilization without telescopes go to such lengths to replicate the heavens on Earth? One compelling theory suggests the pyramids weren't just tombs, they were gateways. Ancient Egyptian texts describe the Juwat, a celestial realm where souls traveled after death, often associated with Orion. By building terrestrial counterparts to these stars, the pharaohs may have created a physical pathway for their spirits to ascend. Imagine a burial ritual where priests align the king's body with pyramid shafts pointing directly to Orion, effectively tethering his soul to the eternal stars. Not everyone agrees, of course. Skeptics argue that the correlation isn't perfect, that the pyramid's alignment matches Orion's belt as it appeared around 2500 BC, but not earlier or later. Yet here's the twist. Recent simulations show that if you account for Earth's axial precession, the match becomes even more precise further back in time. Some researchers propose the pyramid's layout reflects the sky as it looked 12,000 years ago, hinting at knowledge passed down from a much older, forgotten civilization. The most astonishing detail, this celestial mirroring isn't unique to Egypt. Halfway across the world, the pyramids of Teotihuacan in Mexico are arranged in the same Orion pattern, with the Avenue of the Dead aligning to the Pleiades star cluster. The Hopi people of North America speak of ancestors emerging from underground worlds guided by Orion, while Aboriginal Australians recount creation stories where the 3 stars sculpted the landscape. These parallels stretch far beyond coincidence, suggesting a shared celestial language woven into humanity's oldest monuments. Perhaps the pyramids' greatest secret isn't in their construction, but in their intention. By encoding the stars in stone, the ancients created a timeless archive, one that wouldn't burn like papyrus or fade like paint. Whether they were spiritual compasses, astronomical calendars, or messages to future generations, their meaning lingers just beyond our grasp. The stones whisper that we're part of something vast, something written not just in history, but in the very fabric of the night sky. Beneath the sun-baked stones of the world's most famous monuments, something stirs in the darkness. Hidden chambers, long rumored in legends and whispered about by archaeologists, are now being revealed by modern technology, and what they might contain could shatter our understanding of the past. Take the Great Pyramid. In 2017, scientists using cosmic ray imaging discovered a massive void above the Grand Gallery, stretching nearly 100 feet long. This wasn't some cramped passage or structural quirk. It was a deliberate space sealed off for millennia, its purpose utterly unknown. Nearby, thermal scans showed mysterious heat signatures behind the pyramid's limestone blocks, hinting at cavities filled with air currents or something else entirely. Then there's the Sphinx's underground labyrinth. Egyptian authorities have long dismissed claims of hidden chambers beneath the statue, but ground-penetrating radar tells a different story. A sprawling network of tunnels fans out from beneath its paws, some leading toward the nearby pyramids, others diving deep into the bedrock. One passage, explored in the 1990s by a robotic camera, ended abruptly at a limestone door with copper handles, a door no human hand has opened in recorded history. What's behind it? Theories range from the pragmatic, a reservoir for groundwater, to the extraordinary, a hall of records preserving Atlantean knowledge. But here's what's undeniable: these spaces weren't accidents. They were designed to be found, but only when the time was right. The pattern repeats globally. Beneath Cambodia's Angkor, Lidar scans reveal a ghostly grid of buried corridors mirroring the temple's celestial alignments. In Turkey, Göbekli Tepe's builders didn't just abandon their site, they carefully buried it under thousands of tons of soil, as if preserving it for future discovery. Even Stonehenge, long thought to be a solitary circle, hides a secret. Seismic surveys show a ring of 30 massive pits encircling the monument, each 10 feet deep and aligned to lunar cycles. These weren't trash pits or post holes. They were part of a vast underground design invisible to those standing on the surface. Why go to such lengths to conceal these spaces? Some scholars argue they were ritual chambers, accessible only to initiates during sacred ceremonies. Others believe they served as time capsules, safeguarding knowledge against cataclysms, a theory supported by ancient texts like the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which speaks of hidden halls containing the words of the gods. The most tantalizing idea that these chambers aren't meant for us at all. Their alignments to stars, solstices, and even planetary positions suggest they might be keys, activated only when celestial conditions repeat. Imagine a chamber beneath the Sphinx designed to flood with sunlight once every 26,000 years, illuminating symbols invisible in ordinary times. The search for these hidden rooms isn't just about treasure or glory. It's about confronting the possibility that ancient civilizations understood their legacy would outlast their language, their gods, even their names. They built not just for their own age, but for ages they would never see, encoding messages in stone, waiting for the day we'd develop the tools to listen. Every new void discovered, every tunnel mapped, brings us closer to a conversation across millennia, and the most humbling thought, we may have only found the first syllable. A perfect circle carved into the stone floor of Osiris's temple in Abydos shares an uncanny resemblance to the swirling patterns on a Shang dynasty bronze vessel from ancient China. Neither culture could have known the other's work, yet both chose the same geometric language, the flower of life, an intricate design of overlapping circles that forms a honeycomb of symmetry. This isn't just artistry, it's a whisper across time, a recurring motif that binds disparate civilizations together in a silent conversation. Look closer at these patterns, and you'll find them everywhere, from the spiraling staircases of Mayan observatories to the fractal-like branching of Hindu temple corridors. The ancients didn't just stumble upon these shapes, they recognized something fundamental in them, a resonance with the very fabric of reality. Take the golden ratio, a mathematical constant found in sunflower seed arrangements and hurricane spirals. The same proportion governs the Parthenon's columns and the great mosque of Kairouan's arches, as if builders separated by centuries and continents were all tuning into the same cosmic frequency. But why? Some researchers argue sacred geometry functioned as a kind of spiritual technology. The pyramid's precise angles might have harnessed Earth's energy, their chambers acting as resonance amplifiers for rituals or healing. The labyrinthine patterns in Gothic cathedrals could have been designed to alter consciousness, guiding pilgrims into meditative states through the simple act of walking. Even the mandalas of Tibetan Buddhism, with their concentric circles and squares, aren't just symbolic, they're blueprints for focusing the mind, aligning human thought with universal order. Others see a more practical purpose. The fractal designs in Islamic mosaics, for instance, aren't merely decorative. Their infinite repetition allowed artisans to cover vast surfaces with a single, scalable pattern, a mathematical cheat code for beauty. The spiral carvings at Newgrange in Ireland align with the winter solstice sunrise, turning the entire structure into a light-powered calendar. Geometry wasn't just philosophy to these builders. It was a tool as vital as chisels or levers. Yet the most compelling evidence lies in the patterns themselves. The flower of life doesn't just appear in art, it mirrors the way cells divide, the way galaxies spin, the way sound waves ripple through space. It's as if the ancients were trying to capture the universe's operating system in stone and pigment, leaving behind a code that transcends language. When you stand in a Romanesque chapel and feel dwarfed by its vaulted ceilings, or trace your fingers along the serpentine curves of a Celtic knot, you're not just observing history. You're touching a thread that connects every civilization that ever paused to look up at the stars and wonder. The real mystery isn't why these symbols repeat, it's why we stopped seeing them as anything more than decoration. High above the Nile, in the temple complex of Denderer, a massive stone disk glows under carefully angled spotlights, the famous Denderer Zodiac. This 2,000-year-old celestial map doesn't just depict constellations. It freezes a precise moment in cosmic time, capturing the positions of planets as they appeared in 50 BC. But here's what's extraordinary. The same constellations, Taurus the bull, Leo the lion, appear in nearly identical forms on the other side of the world, carved into the Aztec calendar stone half a millennium later. How could civilizations with no known contact depict the stars with such eerie similarity? The answer might lie in the sky itself. Ancient cultures didn't just observe the stars, they lived by them. The Maya painted Venus's 8-year cycle across their temple walls, using its movements to time wars and coronations. Babylonians etched Jupiter's path onto clay tablets, believing its shifts predicted the rise and fall of kings. Even Stonehenge's heel stone marks not just the summer solstice sunrise, but the exact point where Sirius, the brightest star, would have risen alongside it 4,000 years ago. These weren't random observations, they were a language, one that transformed temples into celestial clocks and kings into living embodiments of cosmic order. Yet some alignments defy practical explanation. The Denderer Zodiac's depiction of the zodiacal Ouroboros, a serpent swallowing its own tail, matches Hindu myths of the world-encircling dragon Rahu. The Aztec calendar's 20-day signs mirror the Maya Tzolk'in cycle, though the two cultures flourished centuries apart. And then there's the curious case of the precession of the equinoxes. the slow wobble of Earth's axis that shifts the stars over millennia. The Denderer temple's orientation aligns to a celestial north pole that hasn't existed since the age of the pyramids, suggesting its zodiac might preserve knowledge far older than the temple itself. Were these monuments teaching tools designed to pass down astronomical wisdom, or were they something more ominous? The Aztec stone center depicts Tenatia, the sun god, demanding sacrificial hearts to keep the cosmos in motion. Egyptian texts speak of the Great Year, a 26,000-year cycle when the zodiac resets, and with it, the world. Could these symbols be warnings, encoding prophecies about cosmic recurrences we've yet to fully understand? The most haunting possibility is that these carvings aren't just about the past. Modern astronomers have noted something startling. The Maya's calculated length of a lunar month is more accurate than what medieval Europe used 1,000 years later. The builders of Denderer charted eclipses with precision that rivals our own. It's as if the ancients weren't just tracking time. They were anticipating our rediscovery of their knowledge, leaving breadcrumbs in stone for the day we'd look up and finally see what they saw. The stars haven't changed, only our ability to read them has. Plato's account of Atlantis isn't just a tale of a sunken city, it's a riddle wrapped in symbols. The philosopher described towering temples adorned with mysterious glyphs, advanced machinery powered by an enigmatic energy source called orichalcum, and a sacred geometry so precise it defied the era's known mathematics. But here's what's fascinating. Scattered across the globe, certain sites echo these descriptions with unsettling accuracy. Take the Bimini Road, a submerged formation of massive limestone blocks off the coast of Florida. To some, it's just a natural rock formation. To others, the perfectly aligned stones, some weighing over 20 tons, resemble a sunken causeway, one that eerily matches Plato's description of Atlantis's harbor walls. Then there's Tartessos, a vanished civilization in southern Spain, whose ruins include concentric rings of canals, mirroring Atlantis's legendary circular city design. Tartessian artifacts bear symbols unlike any in the region, spirals reminiscent of Atlantean energy vortices, and trident motifs identical to Poseidon's sacred emblem in Plato's story. Even more intriguing, both sites sit along ancient trade routes once plied by the Phoenicians, a seafaring culture rumored to have preserved fragments of Atlantean knowledge. Could these scattered clues be the remnants of a shared symbolic language, one that once spanned the prehistoric world? The search for Atlantis's codes takes a stranger turn when you examine the work of late 19th century archaeologists like Augustus Le Plongeon. He claimed to have deciphered Mayan hieroglyphs at Chichen Itza that spoke of a lost land called Mu, a place destroyed by cataclysm, its survivors dispersing global wisdom. Modern scholars dismiss his translations as fantasy, but the parallels are hard to ignore. The Mayan Popol Vuh describes a primordial civilization drowned by the gods for its arrogance. The Hindu Vedas speak of an island empire, rooters, sunk beneath the waves. Even the Basques of northern Spain have oral traditions of a homeland called Atlantica, swallowed by the sea. What if these aren't just myths? In the Azores archipelago, divers have discovered underwater pyramids with smooth, angled sides resembling those at Giza. Off the coast of Cuba, sonar images reveal what appears to be a sprawling city submerged under 2,000 feet of water, its structures arranged in geometric patterns that suggest intentional design. Skeptics argue these are mere geological anomalies, but consider this. Plato placed Atlantis beyond the Pillars of Hercules, a term ancient Greeks used for the Strait of Gibraltar. The Azores and Cuba lie precisely along that westward path. The most tantalizing evidence might lie not in stone, but in language. Linguists have noted uncanny similarities between Basque, a language isolate with no known relatives, and native tongues in the Andes, both sharing words for advanced concepts like astronomy and metallurgy that shouldn't exist in pre-Columbian cultures. Then there's the Guanche mummies of the Canary Islands, whose DNA shows traces of a genetic marker found only in remote parts of the Sahara and coastal Spain. Could these be the scattered descendants of a seafaring civilization that once bridged the Atlantic? The truth about Atlantis may never be settled, but the persistence of its symbols, in ruins, in legends, even in our DNA suggests something profound. Whether it was a real place or a collective memory of a cataclysmic event, the idea of Atlantis endures because it speaks to a deeper human truth, that civilizations rise and fall, but their codes, their symbols outlast them. The stones may sink, but the stories never do, and somewhere beneath the waves or buried in plain sight, those symbols are still waiting to be read. For centuries, archaeologists relied on trowels and brushes to uncover the past, but today, a silent revolution is unfolding in laboratories and excavation sites worldwide. Cutting-edge technologies are peeling back layers of time, revealing secrets our ancestors never intended us to see. Take Lidar, the laser-based imaging system that strips away jungle canopies like a digital machete. In Guatemala's Petén rainforest, this technology exposed 60,000 previously unknown Mayan structures, roads, farms, even entire cities hidden beneath centuries of vegetation. Among them, a pyramid adorned with glyphs so weathered they'd been invisible to generations of researchers. But under Lidar's gaze, those symbols sprang back to life, revealing astronomical alignments that rewrite our understanding of Mayan cosmology. Then there's photogrammetry, turning simple photographs into intricate 3D models. At Egypt's Temple of Hathor, a team used this technique to capture every inch of its walls, revealing faded paint traces invisible to human eyes. When they digitally enhanced the colors, a stunning scene emerged. A forgotten star chart mapping the sky from 3,000 years ago, its constellations arranged in patterns that match no known epoch. It's as if the priests left a message only visible through the lens of future technology. Artificial intelligence adds another layer to this detective work. Researchers at Oxford trained an AI to analyze thousands of ancient symbols across cultures, searching for hidden connections. The algorithm spotted something startling, a recurring spiral motif in Celtic, Maori, and Hopi carvings, always appearing near water-related symbols. This wasn't just decorative, it represented a global understanding of water's sacred geometry, a shared belief encoded across continents. AI's real power lies in its ability to spot these subtle echoes, patterns too faint for any single scholar to recognize. Perhaps most astonishing are multispectral imaging systems, originally developed for satellite surveillance. At Petra's Alcosne, these cameras detected faint inscriptions beneath the famous rose-red stone. The symbols, written in a lost Nabatean dialect, describe celestial events with startling precision, including a comet's appearance in 70 CE that matches Chinese astronomical records. This isn't just translation, it's time travel, reconstructing moments when ancient astronomers looked up in awe and chose to preserve what they saw. Yet for all these breakthroughs, technology raises as many questions as it answers. Why did so many cultures encode their knowledge in ways only future tools could reveal? Were they leaving breadcrumbs for us, or were these symbols meant to guard secrets from all but the most determined seekers? As we stand on the threshold of this new era, one thing becomes clear: the past isn't finished speaking. Every scan, every algorithm, every pixel holds the potential to rewrite history. The stones have waited millennia for us to learn their language. Now, at last, we're beginning to listen. Puma Punku's shattered stone blocks lie scattered across the Bolivian Altiplano like pieces of an impossible puzzle. These massive slabs, some weighing over 100 tons, bear cuts so precise they seem machined right angles sharper than any modern tool could achieve without power equipment. The andesite stone, harder than granite, shows no chisel marks, only smooth grooves and drill holes that defy explanation. For ancient astronaut theorists, this isn't just advanced engineering. It's a smoking gun proof that someone or something shared knowledge beyond humanity's reach at the time. But let's pause here. The idea that extraterrestrials guided ancient builders isn't new. Erich von Däniken's 1968 book, Chariots of the Gods, sparked a global fascination, pointing to sites like Egypt's Great Pyramid and Peru's Sacsayhuaman as evidence of alien intervention. His argument hinges on a simple question: how could cultures without wheels or iron tools align monuments to celestial events with laser-like precision? Mainstream archaeologists counter with equally compelling answers: centuries of trial and error, lost technologies like the ancient Greek Antikythera mechanism, and the sheer ingenuity of human observation. The controversy deepens when you examine the symbols themselves. At Puma Punku, geometric patterns repeat across broken pillars, echoing designs found in Mesopotamian ziggurats and Polynesian petroglyphs. Ancient astronaut proponents see a shared builder's code, a universal language taught by star visitors. Skeptics argue these are natural human tendencies, like how unrelated cultures independently invented pyramids or spiral motifs. Yet some anomalies resist easy dismissal. The Dogon people of Mali, for instance, knew about Sirius B, a white dwarf star invisible to the naked eye, centuries before telescopes confirmed its existence. Their oral traditions speak of amphibious beings called Namo who brought this knowledge from the sky. What often gets lost in the debate is the middle ground. Even staunch academics admit there are gaps in our understanding of ancient technologies. The Baghdad Battery, a 2,000-year-old clay jar containing an iron rod and copper cylinder, could have generated electric current, though whether it was used for electroplating or ritual purposes remains unclear. Similarly, the vitrified stone walls of Scotland's Tap o' Noth show signs of extreme heat, a phenomenon some attribute to lost plasma-based construction methods. These outliers don't prove alien contact, but they do suggest forgotten science is ripe for rediscovery. Perhaps the most balanced perspective comes from indigenous traditions themselves. The Hopi speak of Kachina's sky beings who brought wisdom but weren't gods, just teachers. The Sumerians depicted the Anunnaki not as deities but as those who from heaven to earth came, beings who mingled with humans and shared arts like writing and agriculture. These narratives, stripped of modern sensationalism, describe knowledge transfer, not divine intervention. Maybe the truth lies in recognizing that advanced doesn't always mean extraterrestrial. Could there have been earlier human civilizations, now lost to time or catastrophe, whose achievements we're only beginning to uncover? At its core, the ancient aliens controversy isn't really about spaceships or little green men. It's about humility. The more we learn about sites like Puma Punku or the Nazca lines, the clearer it becomes that ancient cultures possessed insights we're still struggling to comprehend. Whether those insights came from the stars or from the untapped potential of the human mind, one thing is certain: the symbols they left behind aren't just messages from our past. They're invitations to keep questioning, keep exploring, and stay open to possibilities we haven't yet imagined. Look at the back of a $1 bill, and you'll find a pyramid capped with a glowing eye, the same motif that once adorned the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs. Glance at a luxury watch advertisement, and you might spot an Ouroboros, the serpent eating its own tail. a symbol of eternal cycles carved into Babylonian temple walls 4,000 years ago. These aren't just aesthetic choices, they're living artifacts, fragments of an ancient symbolic language that still whispers through our modern world. Take the all-seeing eye. To the ancient Egyptians, it represented the Eye of Horus, a symbol of protection and divine wisdom. Medieval alchemists saw it as the Eye of Providence, a reminder that the universe observed all. Today, it stares back at us from corporate logos, government seals, and even social media icons, a silent testament to humanity's enduring fascination with omniscience. The irony, most people who encounter it have no idea they're interacting with a relic older than written language. Then there's the Masonic square and compass, tools once used by builders of Gothic cathedrals to align sacred geometry. For Freemasons, these symbols encoded moral lessons, the square representing virtue, the compass defining boundaries, but their roots stretch further back to the Pythagorean cults of ancient Greece and the architect priests of Mesopotamia. Today, you'll find variations in university crests, tech company emblems, and even smartphone app icons. The symbols haven't lost their power, they've simply adapted, slipping into the visual shorthand of the digital age. Even something as mundane as a medical logo often hides ancient echoes. The caduceus, that winged staff entwined with serpents, was carried by Hermes in Greek myth as a messenger between worlds. But its origins trace to Mesopotamia, where serpent symbols represented healing deities. Modern hospitals use it unaware that they're invoking a 5,000-year-old belief in medicine as a bridge between the physical and spiritual. Why do these symbols persist? Partly because they tap into universal human instincts, the need for protection, the awe of the infinite, the longing for order in chaos. But there's a darker thread too. Secret societies and elite institutions have long weaponized symbolism to signal allegiance or exclusion. The same rose window patterns found in Templar chapels appear in modern boardroom art. The labyrinth designs of medieval cathedrals resurface in corporate campus layouts. Coincidence or proof that symbols, once sacred, have been repurposed as tools of influence? The most fascinating examples emerge when old codes collide with new technology. Video game designers use alchemical symbols to signify power-ups. Social media algorithms exploit fractal patterns, the same sacred geometry that once adorned temple ceilings, to keep users engaged. Even emojis, those digital hieroglyphs, echo ancient Sumerian pictographs. It's as if humanity, for all its progress, still thinks in symbols older than civilization itself. This isn't just about recognizing patterns. It's about realizing that every time we encounter these symbols, we're participating in an unbroken chain of meaning. The past isn't dead. It's embedded in the logos we click, the architecture we pass, the stories we tell. The ancients didn't just leave us ruins, they left a language, one we're all still speaking, even if we've forgotten the words. The thrill of uncovering ancient symbols comes with a hidden peril, the human tendency to see meaning where none exists. Walk through the ruins of Pompeii, and you'll find walls covered in markings ranging from election slogans to tavern bills, all scrawled in the same Latin script used for sacred texts. Even the Great Pyramid's interior bears workers' graffiti names and tallies etched by laborers, not priests. These mundane marks remind us that not every stroke left by the ancients was a cosmic cipher. Archaeologists face a constant challenge, separating profound symbols from everyday scribbles. Take the so-called Fuente Magna bowl, a ceramic artifact from Bolivia covered in what some claimed was Proto-Sumerian script. Initial excitement faded when linguists pointed out the markings lacked consistent grammar or syntax, more likely random scratches or local notations misread through wishful thinking. Similarly, the Glastonbury Zodiac, a landscape formation in England said to mirror the stars, was debunked as natural hills reshaped by medieval farming. The lesson: context is king. A symbol's meaning hinges on where it appears, how it's repeated, and what tools created it. The consequences of misreading can ripple far beyond academia. In the 1930s, Nazi ideologues twisted ancient runes into symbols of Aryan supremacy, despite historians noting these marks were practical alphabets used by diverse cultures. More recently, viral theories about alien hieroglyphs at Egypt's Temple of Seti. I ignored the obvious: they were palimpsests, layers of carvings where later pharaohs chiseled over earlier ones, creating accidental overlaps. When we project our fantasies onto the past, we don't just distort history, we risk repeating its darkest chapters. Yet dismissing all enigmatic markings as random is equally dangerous. The Vinci symbols of Neolithic Europe, found on pottery fragments from 6000 BCE, were long dismissed as potter's marks until statistical analysis revealed recurring patterns suggesting a proto-writing system. The key difference: rigorous methodology. Archaeologists use tools like microscopy to distinguish ritual engravings from tool sharpening, or spectral imaging to detect faded pigments signaling ceremonial use. They track frequency. A symbol appearing once might be graffiti, but repeated across sites could indicate shared belief. Perhaps the most humbling realization is that ancient people themselves debated symbolism. Egyptian scribes left margin notes arguing over hieroglyph interpretations, while medieval monks copied classical texts with annotations like "meaning uncertain." Even they recognized that symbols could be slippery, changing with time or context. Our quest isn't to unveil a single hidden truth, but to listen without prejudice to the many voices whispering from the stones. After all, the line between sacred and mundane isn't always clear. Sometimes the most profound messages are the ones that remind us. Not every mark is a message, but every mark has a story. Beneath the vaulted ceilings of Masonic lodges and the candlelit chambers of Rosicrucian libraries, a quiet guardianship has endured for centuries. These societies, often shrouded in ritual and speculation, insist they're more than social clubs. They're the custodians of a symbolic lineage stretching back to the builders of Solomon's Temple and the mystic schools of Alexandria. Walk into any Grand Lodge, and you'll find floors laid out in black and white checkerboard patterns, echoing the dualities of ancient Egyptian cosmology. The compass and square, tools of medieval stonemasons, aren't just decorative. They're visual mnemonics representing the balance between earthly knowledge and celestial truth. But how much of this is genuine preservation, and how much is imaginative reconstruction? The Freemasons' rituals, for instance, include dramatic reenactments of the murder of Hiram Abiff, the mythical architect of Solomon's Temple. While the story is allegorical, some scholars argue it encodes geometric principles used by actual temple builders, principles that resurface in the precise proportions of Gothic cathedrals like Chartres, where Masonic influences are well documented. Similarly, Rosicrucian manuscripts brim with alchemical symbols: the rose, the cross, the serpent swallowing its tail, that mirror diagrams found in medieval Hermetic texts. These aren't random borrowings, they're deliberate attempts to stitch together a fractured tradition, one fragmented by time, persecution, and the slow erosion of oral teachings. The challenge lies in separating inherited wisdom from creative revival. Take the infamous Voynich manuscript, a 15th century cipher that both the Masons and Rosicrucians have claimed as part of their esoteric heritage. While its botanical illustrations resemble alchemical herbals, there's no concrete proof it belonged to either group. Yet the fascination persists, revealing a deeper truth. Secret societies don't just preserve symbols, they act as living repositories for humanity's hunger to decode the past. When a Masonic initiate traces the path of a labyrinth etched into a lodge floor, he's not just performing a ritual, he's stepping into a continuum that connects Neolithic stone circles to modern mystery schools. Perhaps the most compelling evidence of their role lies in architecture, from the streets of Washington, D.C., laid out in Masonic geometric patterns, to the stained glass windows of Rosslyn Chapel, alleged to hide Templar secrets. These groups left physical breadcrumbs. The alignment of certain lodges to solstice sunrises, the use of sacred numbers like 33 in their organizational tiers, even the acoustic properties of their meeting halls designed to amplify specific frequencies, all suggest a deliberate encoding of ancient principles. But here's the twist. Many of these features were added during the 18th and 19th centuries, a period of fervent antiquarianism when societies like the Freemasons were actively reconstructing what they believed to be lost knowledge. This duality, part preservation, part reinvention, raises a provocative question. Does it matter if the symbols were rediscovered rather than handed down? The rituals themselves, whether authentically ancient or cleverly reassembled, keep the language of these codes alive. When a Rosicrucian adept studies the Emerald Tablet of Hermes, they're engaging with the same metaphysical questions that haunted medieval alchemists, even if the chain of transmission is imperfect. The power of symbols lies not in their unbroken lineage, but in their ability to transmit meaning across generations, adapting while retaining their core. What emerges from this tapestry is neither conspiracy nor fantasy, but something far more human, the enduring need to find patterns in the dark. Whether these societies guard literal secrets or simply the idea that secrets exist, their greatest legacy may be the reminder that history is never truly lost, just waiting to be read in the right light. And sometimes the most profound codes aren't hidden in vaults, but in plain sight, passed hand to hand by those who refuse to let the symbols die. The Amazon rainforest, long considered an impenetrable green desert by archaeologists, is suddenly revealing its secrets. Underneath its dense canopy, Lidar scans have uncovered vast networks of earthworks, roads, and even pyramid structures that hint at civilizations far more complex than we ever imagined. These aren't just ruins, they're potential treasure troves of undiscovered symbols, waiting to rewrite our understanding of the ancient world. One particularly striking site, known as the Labyrinth of the Jaguar, features concentric circles etched into the earth, their patterns eerily similar to the solar alignments found at Stonehenge. Could this be another piece of the global puzzle, a language of symbols shared across continents? Meanwhile, technology is giving us tools our predecessors could only dream of. Quantum computing, still in its infancy, promises to crack codes that have resisted centuries of analysis. Imagine feeding the Voynich manuscript's cryptic script into an algorithm that can process every linguistic pattern humanity has ever recorded, cross-referencing it with symbols from Easter Island to Gerbeklly, Tepe. Or consider neural networks trained to detect faint carvings on weathered stones, revealing glyphs invisible to the human eye. In a lab at MIT, researchers are already using AI to reconstruct fragmented inscriptions, piecing together broken tablets like digital jigsaw puzzles. The Rosetta Stone was just the beginning, but the most tantalizing possibilities lie beneath our feet. Satellite imagery has identified over 10,000 potential archaeological sites in the Middle East alone, many untouched by modern excavation. Among them, a buried complex in Iraq's western desert shows alignments matching the Pleiades star cluster, a pattern we've seen in Maya temples and Egyptian pyramids. And then there's Antarctica, where ice-penetrating radar has detected geometric anomalies under 2 miles of glacial sheet. Could these be natural formations or remnants of a time when the continent wasn't frozen? Either way, the technology to explore them is advancing faster than we think. The real game changer might be something subtler: collaboration. For centuries, archaeology has been siloed by region and era, but now teams are pooling data in real time. A symbol found in a Mongolian cave last year was matched within weeks to a nearly identical carving in a Turkish temple, thanks to a global database of ancient motifs. This interconnected approach is revealing something startling. Symbols we thought were unique to one culture often have cousins halfway across the world, like fragments of a shared dream. What keeps scholars awake at night isn't the fear that we've run out of mysteries, it's the certainty that the biggest discoveries are still ahead. As we stand on the brink of this new era, one truth becomes clear: the ancients didn't just leave us symbols. They left a conversation, one that's been waiting millennia for us to join. And with every scan, every algorithm, every shovel breaking fresh soil, we're not just uncovering the past. We're learning how to listen. As we stand at the precipice of this vast archaeological mystery, one undeniable truth crystallizes: these ancient symbols are more than relics. They're a bridge spanning thousands of years, connecting the minds of builders who carved their knowledge into stone with ours, straining to decipher it. From the celestial alignments of the Great Pyramid to the silent warnings etched into Easter Island's Moai, these hidden codes whisper a humbling reality. Human ingenuity is far older, far deeper than our textbooks ever suggested. Think about what that means for a moment. The builders of Göbekli Tepe, working 12,000 years ago without metal tools or written language, encoded the night sky's secrets into towering pillars. The Nazca people, whose lines remain crisply defined after centuries, mapped constellations and water sources across an entire desert. These weren't primitive acts. They were acts of genius, a sophisticated language of shapes and alignments designed to transcend time itself. Yet for all we've uncovered, the most thrilling realization is how much remains hidden. Those voids in the Great Pyramid, those sealed chambers beneath the Sphinx, those undeciphered glyphs in the Amazon's newfound ruins, they're not dead ends. They're invitations. Every breakthrough, whether it's a laser scan revealing lost cities or an AI reconstructing fragmented texts, peels back another layer of this grand, interconnected puzzle. And here's the beautiful part: you don't need a doctorate to contribute. Some of history's greatest decryptions, like the cracking of Egyptian hieroglyphs, began with curious minds spotting patterns others overlooked. This isn't just about rewriting history books. It's about rediscovering a lost way of seeing the world, one where art, science, and spirituality weren't separate disciplines, but threads of the same tapestry. The ancients didn't compartmentalize knowledge. They wove it into their temples, their tools, even their trade routes, creating a holistic understanding we're only beginning to appreciate. Maybe that's the most vital lesson these symbols offer. Truth isn't found in isolation, but in connection. So where do we go from here? The answer lies in the very monuments we've explored. Keep looking up, like the Maya tracking Venus across generations. Keep questioning, like the builders who aligned Stonehenge to solstices we still celebrate today. And most importantly, keep sharing what you find. Because the next great revelation might not come from a team of experts, it might come from you, spotting a pattern in a forgotten glyph or alignment no one else considered. The stones have waited this long to speak. They can wait a little longer until we're ready to hear the rest of their story. Until then, stay curious, stay bold, and remember, the greatest codes aren't just meant to be broken. They're meant to change us. If you've enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the conversation below. Who knows? Your theory might be the key to unlocking the next